It is an absolutely beautiful day here in early April 2023, and I just wanted to take a quick walk around the garden and share what's going on, what I'm seeing, and how things are going. I'm standing right now inside the perimeter of the fence, which last time I did a garden walk, I don't think I had the fence quite finished yet, but you can see the fence is up. We're standing within the perimeter here, and you know, it's not perfect, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. We got this metal fence dug in a good few inches, nice sturdy cedar posts, and this plastic deer fence up top. I can talk a little bit more about the gate in a minute, but we're in here, and gosh, it's pretty out today. Just with this garden is that it's very much a work in progress. It's very much experimental, and it's very much a side project for me right now. There's a lot of other things going on that I'm devoting my time to, and I'm really excited about what's going on here, but it's definitely, well, I was going to say it's going slower than I'd like, but I think it's going at a good pace, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's going at a good pace, and I'm happy with how things are going, but yeah, definitely want to emphasize that this is going to be chaotic. And so a good example of that chaoticness is maybe to start over here with where I've started building beds, and you can see to some of you this might look like a total and utter mess. There's kind of 4 defined beds here. I don't love doing things in straight lines and rows, but there's a row here, there, and here, and they're not uniform size. It may look like it in the video, but they're all slightly wider or narrower or longer, and kind of the edges are not super straight. Anyway, I learned last year that using hay or straw or whatever as a walkway, sometimes there's viable seeds in there. So that's what all this tall grass in the pathways is this is seed from the hay that I put down as mulch. And soon that's going to get cut down and either mulched or composted, and I'm going to add in more wood chips in the pathways, but for now, it's not really bothering anybody. There's just random stuff all over, like just random stuff. So like there we have a spinach. Here we have some garlic that I planted last fall. There's little brassica seedlings popping up everywhere from crop, you know, I just scattered tons of seed. This is actually garbanzo beans, I believe. I planted some garbanzo beans. You know, there's some peas here and there. I think that's a Swiss chard from last year that somehow survived the winter. It was like, you know, dormant all winter. There's hazelnut trees in here that are starting to wake up. You can see, very excited about these. You know, strawberry plants intermixed in. And you come down here, occasionally you'll find an elderberry cutting. Okay, so this is an elderberry cutting that I stuck in the ground over the winter time. Let's see how tall this grass is here. In this bed, there's lots of trees. Maybe I should come down here. You can see a lot of acorns were put in this bed. So these are all chestnut oak that are starting to sprout. There's white oak in here too. See all these little guys. If we come down here, I don't know if you can see, there's a black walnut sticking up right there and right there. All these little green, that's all Osage orange popping up. So this bed is more of a tree perennials nursery type bed right now. Although there are some brassicas coming up right in there, probably turnips. And you know, random garlic and things, so all over the place. Not gonna point out every plant. This here is yarrow that I got from a friend. And I want to spend a second down here in this bed just to show off these collard greens going to seed and all the pollinators flying around. I mean, there's just bees. I've seen butterflies. Here's bumblebees, wasps. Let's see if we can find a wasp. There's a lot of wasps on here this morning. Maybe none right now. They were definitely here. I love letting things go to seed. I love saving seed and the idea of saving your own seed and plant breeding and plants kind of adapting over time and all that. But it's also great for pollinators, great for insects. So it's been very exciting to watch this unfold here. And you know, the plan is just to start expanding these beds, right? So, and the pathways as well. But just, you know, eventually I'd like to get pretty much this whole place covered in either compost, which is what I'm building the beds with for the most part, is mostly compost, mulch, wood chips, leaves, whatever, sawdust, straw, or living plants, right? So right now this is living plants, but I kind of, you know, in the garden, I don't really want much grass. So the plan is to push out all the grass by covering things up with garden beds and walkways and living plants. And you can see this was, so these 3 beds were kind of built at the end of last summer. This bed I built just recently when I was starting my seeds about, I don't know how many weeks ago that was. And so this has just had seeds scattered all over. So here's some more chickpea garbanzo beans coming up, more brassicas. We come down the line, we have a lot of peas here. You can see I got this trellis up that, you know, we'll see how tall they get growing before it gets warm. Hopefully they'll be able to climb that trellis and make some peas. There's also carrots in various places in this bed. See some carrots coming up here. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting how this goes. What does well, what doesn't do well. How much issue do I have with weeds coming in from the pathways and outside of the beds and whatnot. And got a lot of mulch to move. Luckily, we've got a lot of mulch. Got a huge pile over there, even bigger pile on the other side of the truck. Got a big pile of compost right there that I can take from. We got a lot of ground to fill. You can see I'm kind of delineating where I'm going to have a pathway here with a little bit of sawdust that needs to get built up more. This area here is going to be interesting. There's some hazelnuts planted in the front right here. This area got compost last spring and had sweet corn and squash on it and some beans and stuff. And now there's a bunch of radishes popping up from cover crop seeds that I put down, but also coming up is a lot of this warm season grass. I think this might be Bermuda grass or something, but we'll see how, you know, depending on how much grass there is when the radishes are done, I may have to cover this up with a lot of compost and mulch, or I might just be able to mow it all down and plant directly into it. We'll see. That'll be interesting. But here's some of the elderberries. You saw some elderberry cuttings in the other beds. These were transplanted elderberries from a friend's property. And we got some more hazelnuts over here in this kind of mulched area. Let's go look at this one. You can see they're all at different stages of leafing out, which is very interesting. See, this one has bigger leaves. This one kind of leafed out before anyone else. So that's very cool. I'm gearing up to build a hot compost pile here soon. Starting to gather materials. I might pull some of this not quite finished static compost out and add that in as a starting material. You see this pile sitting there right around 60, right above 60. It's a combination of, I think maybe I've talked about this before in another video, but there's a lot of carbon in these piles, wood chips and leaves and stuff, and some hot compost that failed. You know, it didn't quite get hot enough to go through all the thermophilic cycles, and so I've been stacking stuff here that was, you know, experiments that didn't go as planned, but it's still totally valuable organic material. It's going to keep breaking down in a static pile. Probably will do the hot composting over here by these pallets, so we're nice and close to the hose. Everybody's waking up. You can see trees are budding up. This is a sweet gum. Everybody's waking up. We got some more elderberries right here. Feels like the nursery is really starting to come along too. I got cages on pretty much everything, and trees are starting to wake up. I got some stuff in pots for local customers going right here. Maybe we'll come over here real quick and just show. I'm really excited. These are pawpaws. Pawpaws are starting to leaf out. I have them over here in the shade. I still got to figure out, I got a bunch of red maples here. They're already starting to wake up, and I got to either find homes for them, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I was kind of hoping to get some of these transplanted into a windbreak over the winter, and I just, you know, I was busy and I didn't have a chance to do it. One of those things that kind of fell to the side, and so now I got to figure out what I'm going to do with those. I don't want them to get too big in that spot and be tough to dig out, but anyway, it's a good problem to have. I have lots of pots. I could pot some up. We'll see. You see we're starting to get, these are mostly walnuts and oaks potted up here. See a lot more Osage orange waking up in this bed. Thank you. More oak trees starting to wake up in these beds. You can see some really coming up here. I'm kind of surprised to see the oaks. They're typically a little bit later to wake up in my experience, but here they are. They're waking up now, so they must be ready. Let's see, do we have any walnuts waking up yet? You can see the walnuts, they're also kind of late. You can see one right here. No persimmons woken up yet. Some of the wild plums that I planted in the landscape have started to leaf out. I'm very excited about plums. We got a lot of these planted. They're mostly planted down along this fence line here. But there's a few. There's one right there. Another one right there. Another one right there. And then, like I said, a lot of them down further in. Well, actually, there's one right there, too. I'm always, you know, you're always sticking stuff in the ground and forgetting about it. There's so many things. More elderberries going right here. I don't know if I've talked about this before. This was a fire pit at one point. I got kind of tired with, I wasn't having many fires, and I was looking at it, and it was just, you know, this bare ground compacted, and it was kind of just bothering me. So, oh, I guess the other thing was I needed fill soil to fill in this trench when I dug the fence in. And so wound up taking soil out of this hole, and now it's kind of become a pond. And I have not added any water to this. It's just been wet, and it seems to be holding. So I would be pretty excited to have a little pond here. I've seen birds playing in this. You know, if it starts to get real low in the summertime, I will probably consider adding water to it just to give the wildlife a place to wash and drink and stuff like that. It gets real hot here. I mean, there's a lot of ponds in the landscape generally. You can see a big pond down here, but it's just nice to have water access all over the place for all the critters, especially in the hot time of year. And I've kind of established a new fire pit here with some rocks above ground. This one, I didn't have any rocks when I had the fire pit here. And I could keep walking around in the grass, pointing out more trees and shrubs that I've got planted, but more or less, they're all going to look the same. Very soon, it's going to be time to come out here and kind of mow some pathways. I'm, you know, intending to leave most of this tall, but I'd like to have some good pathways cut through it. Go back over here and look at some walnuts that are popping up. I spread out some compost and planted some walnuts here. You know, these will be straight in the ground. I'll have to dig these up. You can see they're starting to pop up. They're so pretty. Black walnuts is what these are. Well, I could keep talking and going and rambling on and on and on and just walking around looking at stuff, but I have some more things I need to do before we lose daylight here, and so I'm going to get back to it.